Shalom and welcome to Scripture 365. Today is March 13, 2024. We are going to read Proverbs chapter 13, followed in with the reading of Nehemiah. So get your Bibles and read along with me, starting Proverbs chapter 13, verse 1. A wise son, it is through the discipline of his father, a scoffer, he never heard reproof. A man enjoys good from the fruit of his speech, but out of the throat of a treacherous comes lawlessness. He who guards his tongue preserves his life. He who opens wide his lips, it is his ruin. A lazy man craves but has nothing. The diligent shall feast on rich fare. 5. A righteous man hates lies. The wicked man is vile and disgraceful. Righteousness protects him whose way is blameless. Wickedness subverts the sinner. One man pretends to be rich and has nothing. Another professes to be poor and has much wealth. Riches are ransom for a man's life. The poor never heard a reproof. The light of the righteous is radiant. The lamp of the wicked is extinguished. 10. Arrogance yields nothing but strife. Wisdom belongs to those who seek advice. Wealth may dwindle to less than nothing, but he who gathers little by little increases it. Hope deferred sickens the heart, but desire realized is the tree of life. He who disdains a precept will be injured thereby. He who respects a command will be rewarded. The instruction of a wise man is a fountain of life, enabling one to avoid deadly snares. 15. Good sense wins favor. The way of righteous men is unchanging. Every clever man acts knowledgeable, but a dullard exposes his stupidity. Harm befalls a wicked messenger. A faithful courier brings healing. Poverty and humiliation are for him who spurns discipline, but he who takes reproof to heart gets honor. Desire realized is sweet to the soul. To turn away from evil is abhorrent to the stupid. 20. He who keeps company with the wise becomes wise, but he who consorts with dullards comes to grief. Misfortune pursues sinners, but the righteous are well rewarded. A good man has what he bequeathed to his grandchildren, for the wealth of sinners is stored up for the righteous. The tillage of the poor yields much food, but substance is swept away for lack of moderation. He who spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him disciplines him early. 25. The righteous man eats to his heart content, but the belly of the wicked is empty. Let's turn to the book of Nehemiah, chapter 1, verse 1. The narratives of Nehemiah, son of Kahaliah, in the month of Kislev, in the 20th year, when I was in the fortress of Shushan. Shenanah, one of my brothers, together with some men of Yahowah, arrived and I asked them about Yahowah, the remnant who had survived the captivity, and about Jerusalem. They replied, the survivors who have survived the captivity there in the province are in dire trouble and disgrace. Jerusalem's wall is full of breaches, and its gates have been destroyed by fire. When I heard that, I sat and wept, and was in mourning for days, fasting and praying to the God of heaven. 5. I said, Yah, God of heaven, great and awesome Yah, who stays faithful to his covenant with those who love him and keep his commandments. Let your ear be attentive and your eyes open to receive the prayer of your servant that I am praying to you now, day and night, on behalf of the Israelites, your servants, confessing the sins that we Israelites have committed against you, sin that I and my father's house has committed. We have offended you by not keeping the commandments, the laws, and the rules that you gave to your servant Moses. Be mindful of the promise you gave to your servant Moses. If you are unfaithful, I will scatter you among the people. But if you turn back to me, faithfully keep my commandments, even if you're dispersed are at the ends of the earth, I will gather them from there and bring them to the place where I have chosen to establish my name. 10. For they are your servants and your people, whom you redeemed by your great power and your mighty hand. O Yah, let your ear be attentive to the prayer of your servant, and to the prayer of your servants, who desire to your name in awe, who desire to hold your name in awe. Grant your servant success today, and dispose that man to be compassionate toward him. I was the king's cupbearer at the time. Chapter 2, verse 1. In the month of Nisan, on the 20th year of King Xerxes, wine was set before him. I took the wine and gave it to the king. I had never been out of sorts in his presence. The king said to me, how is it that you look bad, for you are not ill? It must be bad. It must be bad thoughts. I was very frightened. But I answered the king, may the king live forever. How should I not look bad when the city of the graveyard of my ancestors lies in ruins, and its gates have been consumed by fire? The king said to me, what is your request? With a prayer to the God of heaven. 5. I answered the king, if it please the king, and if your servant is found favor with you, send me to Yahowah, to the city of my ancestors, to rebuild it. With the consort seated at his side, the king said to me, how long will you be gone, and when will you return? So it was agreeable to the king to send me, and I gave him a date. Then I said to the king, if it please the king, let me have letters to the governors of the province of beyond the river, directing them to grant me passage until I reach Yahowah. Likewise, a letter to Asaph, the keeper of the king's park, directing him to give me timber for roofing and gatehouses of the temple fortress and the city walls, and for the house I shall occupy. The king gave me this, thanks to my God's benevolence, care for me. When I came to the governors of the province of beyond the river, I gave them the king's letters. The king also sent army officers and cavalry with me. 10. When Sanballat, the Honorite, and Tobiah, the Ammonite servant heard, it displeased him greatly that someone is calm, intent in improving the conditions of the Israelites. I arrived in Jerusalem after I was there 3 days. I got up at night, I and a few men with me, and telling no one what my God had put into my mind to do for Jerusalem, and taking no other beast than the one on which I was riding. I went out of the valley gate at night toward the jackal spring and the dung gate, and I surveyed the walls of Jerusalem that were breached and its gates consumed by fire. I proceeded to the fountain gate and to the king's pool, where there was no room for the beasts under me to continue. 15. So I went up the wadi by night, surveying the wall, and entering again by the valley gate, I returned. The perfects know nothing of where I have gone or what I have done, since I had not yet divulged it to the Yehudim, or the Israelites, to call them the nobles and precepts for the rest of the officials. Then I said to them, you see the bad state we are in. Jerusalem lying in ruins and its gates destroyed by fire. Come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem and suffer no more disgrace. I told them of my God's benevolent care for me, also of the things the king had said to me, and they said, let us stop building. They were encouraged by his benevolence. When Sanballat, the Horonite, and Tobiah, the Ammonite servant, and Geshem the Arab heard, they mocked us and held us in contempt and said, What is it that you are doing? Are you rebuilding against the king? When Sanballat the Horite and Tobiah the Ammonite, servant of the Geshem the Arab, heard, they mocked us and held us in contempt and said, What is this you are doing? Are you rebelling against the king? I said to them in reply, the God of heaven will grant us success, and we, his servants, will start building, but you have no share or claim or stake in Jerusalem. This concludes the reading of Proverbs chapter 13 and the book of Nehemiah chapters 1 and 2. May Yah shine his light on your path. May he direct you into his righteousness and give you shalom. Till tomorrow, shalom.